Gio and Trina's fake romance and Emma's very real problem with it. Let us start with the situation that Simon has engineered, because this is the kind of music industry storyline that soap operas have been telling beautifully for decades. The manufactured image that starts bleeding into genuine feeling, the performance that stops being purely performance somewhere along the way, and the people on the outside of it who can see exactly where this is heading even when the people in the middle of it cannot. Simon has a vision for Gio and Trina's public image. He signed them as a duo. He has watched them perform together, and what he sees, the chemistry, the way they move together musically, the quality of attention they pay to each other when they are working, is something he believes the market will respond to. But Simon is not content to let that natural energy speak for itself. He wants it amplified. He wants it official. He wants Gio and Trina to present themselves to the public as a romantic couple, not just a musical one. Gio and Trina heard this proposal, and their immediate instinct was to back out entirely. Both of them. Not one hesitating while the other was on board. Both of them resistant. Both of them uncomfortable. Both of them aware that pretending to be romantically involved with someone when you have an actual partner waiting at home is a complication that extends well beyond professional inconvenience. Brooklyn has been put in the middle of this. Simon's expectation is that she will bring Gio and Trina around, that she will use her relationship with both of them to smooth the path toward agreement. Brooklyn gave Simon a diplomatically vague response about the possibility of an alternative approach, but Simon was not really leaving room for alternatives. This is what he wants. This is what the contract environment demands. And Gio and Trina are going to have to decide whether the career opportunity is worth what it costs them in their personal lives. The realistic expectation and the honest storytelling prediction is that they agree, because the alternative is walking away from something that represents a genuinely significant step in both of their careers, and people do not generally do that when the specific cost being asked is something that can theoretically be managed. They will tell themselves it is business. They will remind themselves and each other and their partners that none of it is real. They will compartmentalize. And then they will have to kiss. Because a romantic campaign without romantic visual content is not a romantic campaign. At some point, for the cameras, for a photo shoot, for a performance, they're going to have to demonstrate the relationship they're supposedly in. And a kiss that happens in front of cameras, for professional reasons, between two people who have genuine chemistry and a real connection that has been building all summer, that kiss is going to be very difficult to experience as purely professional for anyone involved. Kai has been remarkably grounded about the situation. His faith in Trina is real, and it is expressed through not making the situation worse with his own insecurity. He is a good person who trusts the person he loves and is trying to act like it. Whether that groundedness can survive the specific experience of watching his girlfriend kiss someone else repeatedly for the cameras is an open question that the story has not yet had to answer. Emma is a different matter entirely. Emma's issues with Gio and Trina's working relationship have been present since the summer began. The question she asked him about whether he was doing this for himself or for Trina was not the question of someone who is fully at peace with the situation. She has been managing her feelings, keeping the lid on, telling herself that professional partnership is different from romantic interest and that she trusts Gio. The fake relationship is going to make that management impossible. Because Emma is going to watch Gio and Trina present themselves to the world as a couple. She is going to see the photographs. She is going to hear the interviews. She is going to have to navigate social situations where other people reference the relationship as if it is real, while she stands there knowing it is not, but feeling, on some level, that she cannot quite dismiss, like it might not be entirely fake either. The insecurity that has been bubbling under the surface all summer is going to find its outlet. The specific moment that the show appears to be building toward is Emma confronting them backstage after a kiss that looks too real to her. Not a stage kiss. Not something clearly performative, but a moment where the distance between acting and feeling collapses just enough that what Emma sees is two people who are genuinely connected in a way that goes beyond what they signed up for. That confrontation is going to be the most emotionally charged scene in this triangle yet. Because Emma is going to be saying something true. She sees what is actually there, while simultaneously letting her own jealousy color the way she says it in ways that make Gio defensive rather than honest. The combination of being right about something and expressing it through jealousy rather than vulnerability is one of the most consistently destructive dynamics in any relationship, and Emma is heading straight into it. The friendship between Emma and Trina is already more complicated than it appears. The friendship between Emma and Trina that runs through their mutual love of Geo is already more than it can bear. And a confrontation backstage, with a kiss still fresh, is going to make everything that has been below the surface visible in ways that cannot easily be put back. Brennan's final chapter and the question of who he really is. Now let us talk about Brennan and the story that is being constructed around his exit, because the choices the writers make about how he goes out are going to determine what his entire presence on this show meant. The simplest version of this exit is the villain who collected enough enemies that eventually one of them settled the score. Brennan has operated in enough morally compromised territory this summer, the cover-ups, the deals, the leveraging of his position for personal reasons, that there are genuinely compelling candidates for who eliminates him and genuinely compelling reasons for any of them to do it. Pascal is out there. Cullum is dead, but the people who are loyal to Cullum are not all accounted for. The DVX and the WSB have operatives who have their own reasons to want Brennan gone that have nothing to do with anything in Port Charles. This is a man with a career history, with enemies accumulated across years of operating in a world where enemies tend to accumulate and survive. Jens is in custody, but not convicted. Jens has demonstrated repeatedly that being physically constrained has not fully eliminated his ability to create problems for the people around him. And Hudson has beaten up Ethan. Let that detail sit for a moment because it is significant. The mysterious business executive who arrived in Port Charles with a carefully constructed public face has now been revealed, in at least one interaction, to be someone willing to use physical violence to make a point. He threatened Lulu. He threatened Holly. He threatened Sasha. This is not someone whose shoddiness is purely financial or reputational. This is someone who causes direct physical harm when he believes the situation warrants it. Jocelyn and Hudson are in each other's orbits. There is something developing between them that the show has been building with the specific energy of a slow-burn romantic entanglement. But there is also the footage of Jocelyn and Hudson in what appears to be a crisis conversation, her telling him they need to figure out how to fix something, both of them operating in problem-solving mode about a situation that sounds genuinely serious. What if fixing it requires Hudson to face someone who has more institutional power and more specific knowledge of who Hudson actually is than Jocelyn can bring to bear alone? What if the person best positioned to protect Jocelyn in a confrontation with Hudson turns out to be Brennan? Here is the exit that would give Brennan a specific and meaningful final act. A man who has been operating in gray territory all summer, who has been doing the wrong things for sometimes understandable reasons, who has been compromised but not entirely without conscience, who cared genuinely about Nina even if that caring was going to cost her, choosing in his final moment to use what he knows and what he is to protect someone who needs protecting. Jocelyn in genuine danger from Hudson. Brennan understanding what Hudson is in a way that Jocelyn, despite her training, may not have the full context to match. And Brennan stepping into that gap, and not stepping back out of it. That death would be a redemptive one. Not full redemption. Brennan has done too much this summer for a simple absolution. But the kind of partial, complicated, this is the best he could do with what he had redemption that the most interesting soap opera exits offer. It would give his character a dignity in the final moment that the compromised choices leading up to it had been quietly eroding. And it would change how the people who survive him, Nina most of all, have to reckon with what he was. A Nina who is grieving someone who died protecting Jocelyn is in a very different emotional position than a Nina who is a suspect in the murder of someone who cheated on her. Both are real possibilities. Both are stories that come directly from who these characters are and what this summer has built. But they produce completely different versions of what comes next. Robert's possible exit running parallel to Brennan's is another layer of institutional weight on a storyline that is already carrying significant meaning. If the WSB world is being reshaped this fall, if the people who have been the anchoring figures in that world are departing simultaneously, what fills that space matters enormously for all the characters connected to it. Jocelyn.
Anna.
Everyone whose story has been threaded through the WSB this summer.